Hey everybody, Blue Gal here, and I just decided to come on live and see how this works and whether, my audio syncs up with my video and doing this. Happy Sock Week. I have finished the sock for Sock Week. This is a sock that I cast on Sunday morning and finished this afternoon. And as usual, very proud and happy to be participating in Sock Week. I also finished the July socks that I showed you last week, and I think a week before that as well. These are the stripe sequence is based on Tracy Miller's Happy Place socks, and they're done. The Sock Week socks are based on the theme of the great outdoors. So the main color is Lorna's Laces Splatter Shot in the color October 2019 Denali. And the stripes are a Hedgehog Fibers Lavender, a Tosh Merino Light Plus Hollow, which is holograno plus 8% acrylic and 2% stellina, grasshopper. And the dark brownish green is Without a Paddle by Leading Men Fibers. So I've got all the great outdoors stuff going on in that sock. And second sock is on the needles. So that's all going on. And I hope everyone else is having fun knitting their socks this week. Today I want to talk a little bit about selfish knitting. And mostly we talk about selfish knitting as knitting things only for yourself instead of giving in to the internal pressure and the external pressure to knit for other people. But I also think that there is something to selfish knitting in terms of making the process comfortable for yourself and perhaps focusing a little differently on your knitting. When I was knitting this sock today, really wanted to finish it for this podcast. And so generally speaking, I will knit in front of the TV or knit with an audiobook going. And today I really wanted to finish it, so I knit in silence for an hour. And I can't remember the last time I've done that. And it was a great experience to just knit quietly. And hi, Olive. Olive wants to be on the show. So I found knitting in silence to be a very rewarding experience, and I'm going to try that again soon. I also learned an important lesson about selfish knitting and unselfish knitting as my kids were going off to college, and I started to experience empty nest syndrome. And people joke about empty nest syndrome and, oh, you're going to do fine because you've got empty nest syndrome. But, once your kids are gone, you're going to find all this, you have all this time and it's wonderful. And all of that is true. But empty nest syndrome, when you've spent 2 decades of your life devoted to the care and feeding, in my case, of 3 children, at least one of whom is special needs, is a form of depression, and it can really hurt and be damaging to one's psyche to adjust to a tremendous change, a sense of abandonment, a lack of purpose, all of these things that you go through in that period of time when you're, meeting the goal of sending your kids off to college or adulthood in any way. It can be really hard. And it was really hard for me. My oldest child has some special needs. And so he went off first, and I could really deal with that because I still had 2 at home. But once the other 2, who are 20 months apart, were both kind of leaving really quickly, it was hard. And one of the ways I dealt with that was to knit them sweaters. And I just for more than I've ever done before, I finished sweaters in a period of 18 months. I just finished, make sure I got this the right way. Yeah. Sweater after sweater after sweater. And I knit stacks of sweaters. Knit this. This is, get that right, gorgeous for middle child. Middle child is vegan and won't wear wool, so these are acrylic or cotton sweaters mostly. And so they're cheap to make, and we're all in worsted weight, so they went fast. But I finished these sweaters, and I have a ton of unfinished objects in my yarn closet for me that I haven't finished. But these kids are going off to college, and I just had to finish sweaters for them so they'd have sweaters to take with them. And it helped me. It helped me a great deal to be working on something that would envelop their bodies as they went away. And I learned something from that, in that once they both got to college, and they're both in college now, but at that freshman year for youngest child, the middle child was sophomore. And so they're both texting one another through me. I'm getting to enjoy that. And we have a family group chat, and it just was fun to see all of that. But one of the things that happened early in the fall, that first semester that youngest child was gone, was a garment that I had made for both of them. They wore it on Instagram. They shared it with their classmates. I saw pictures of roommates wearing the garment, and just a tremendous amount of excitement over the fact that their mom had made them this thing. And the thing is this: the one-day crocheted frog hat. That's the thing that they decided they were going to show off to their friends and classmates. And they wore them to class. And they Instagrammed themselves wearing them to class. And they Photoshop, this is them in their frog hats, on how much time to spend on garments that my children will take with them to college. Frog hats. Now, I'm not saying they didn't appreciate the sweaters I made. I know they did. They thanked me and they were grateful. But they didn't Instagram those things. Those are clothes. The frog hats are a novelty item that's exciting to their Instagram followers. So it's really important to understand the value and the values of young people and what they are going to appreciate about your craft. And as I said, I made those frog hats, in 2 of them in 3 days. Just it floored me at the time to think, oh great, they're Instagramming the frog hats. So I just, like I said, I'm not mad at my kids. It just kind of said, oh yeah, that teaches me a thing or two. And so if you're knitting for others, it might be helpful to step back a bit and take some time to think about the values of the person that you're knitting for, and maybe ask them what they would like. Although I did ask them, they picked out the yarn for those sweaters and everything. It's not, like I said, not a big deal, but it was a funny lesson for me. I'm going to spend the rest of this time on air, live, talking to you about some garments that I've made for myself. I've been knitting a lot of cowls this year. Now, I have some very exciting news. This fall, I have had an opportunity presented to myself to go on a knitting retreat, and I'm going. And I came into some money, not a lot, but I came into some money. I've been looking at cruises for 3 years now. And this opportunity came to go on the Grocery Girls knitting cruise through New England, 7-day cruise in the fall. And when it came up and I knew that I had this little fund set aside to do something, and my husband said, you have to go. thank God he said that. I mean, I would have, we're a team. So I'm just grateful that he didn't have any resentment about me going. And so I'm tremendously excited about this. And when I booked this trip in April, I knew I was going to have a lot of trouble waiting until the fall to go on this trip. And so I started knitting cowls that are designed by the 3 knitting this cruise for the workshops. And I started knitting cowls because I knew those are manageable. They are by the teachers that are going to be on the cruise and also the 2 grocery girls who are sponsoring the cruise. And they are knitting podcasters. There are 5 in total. I have 4 done and 1 in progress. So let me start with the grocery girls first. This one, yeah, let's start with this one. This is because it's a really long one. This is Fingering Weight. This is by Tracy Miller, who is one of the grocery girls. It's not blocked yet, but it's called the Autumn Stripes Sampler, and her colorway that she did hers in was in pinks and beiges and very muted colors. And I went bold with a teal and purple and kind of a mustard green. It's very hard to photograph this colorway because these come off as just purple yellow, and that's not what they are. It's much more, like I said, more of a greenish along with the purple, but it just doesn't pick up in the camera. By the way, the sock for next month in the Grocery Girls sock bash is basket weave. And you can see here's a basket weave pattern right in that stripe is basket weave knitting. There's some cat hair on here too. Bosco. Anyway, I had a ton of fun knitting this because it never got boring. There's lace, there's stripes, there's basket weave, there's a diagonal slip stitch, there's cable and ribbing, and it all scrunches up like it's a big wide cowl, but it's very light because it's fingering weight, and you scrunch it up like that and put it on. I could try to put it on. And yeah, it's very easy to wear, very light, very soft. And I had, like I said, a fun knit because you don't get bored with it. That one is called the Autumn Stripes Sampler, Tracy Miller, Millar. And the other one, Grocery Girls, is by Jody Brown, her Tracy's sister, Jody. I'm picking off cat hair right now. This is called Franken Beans. It's a bulky weight. I had 2 balls of bulky. I don't have a lot of bulky in my stash. And by the way, all of these cowls are knit with stash. This is, like I said, a bulky weight. I used up the maroon bulky that I had to make this. You could go on for many more repeats on this. But it being bulky, I didn't want to do that. And again, fun and easy knit. This one is really a nice slip stitch, garter, squishy pattern. Easy to follow, nice to do 2 contrasting colors and make a fun cowl that knits up quickly. All right, so those are the 2 grocery girls. Then the 3 teachers. The teachers on the cruise are, the first one is Mary Jane Mucklestone. She's a Fair Isle knitter. This is her stranded color cowl. Another very fun knit if you like 2-color knitting and stranding. I'll show you how nice it looks on the inside too, because yeah, I'm pretty good at this. So the strands are, the floats are really well done in my personal opinion. And yeah, this is 3 colors. I used Cloudborne Fibers fingering weight, and very lovely charted pattern with some plain ribbing on the bottom and some corrugated ribbing on the top. And a lightweight. This is fingering. This is a lightweight cowl. Love the colors. It really turned out nice. And finally, or next, penultimately, this is by Lauralee Beltman. This is her Mariposa cowl. I did it. This is, if you watched episode 4 of my podcast, I talked about Marianne's yarn. This is from Marianne's legendary stash of yarn that she left to us and to my members of my guild. So this is a variegated worsted weight yarn, and these lovely little cables are just so nice and easy to do. And again, this is a quick, I think I used size 7 needles for this one. So yeah, this one worked up really quickly. It was fun to watch how the cables and the variegated yarns went together. And now finally I'm working on, I've had some setbacks on this one. Vincent Williams is the third teacher that's doing a workshop, and he's doing a crochet workshop on board. And I'm crocheting after trying to do one of his knitted cowls in fingering, and it just was a fail. I started his, it's Okapi shawl. This is kind of a granny square, some Tosh, and also some fingering weight, lace weight blue scrap that I'm holding double. And what I'm going to do is make triangles like this. Now you could keep going with this triangle and make it really big, but I'm going to make them smaller and make 4 to 6 of them and then sew them together alternating. So I'll do a triangle here, and then I'll do triangles on the side and keep going and then loop it around, alternating the colors. You can see on this one I started with the variegated in the center and moved out to the blue. I'll do that again, and then I'll do opposite. I'll start with the blue and move out to the variegated and sew those together and make a cowl out of that. So I want to have a cowl rather than a big triangle shawl, because I just don't wear big triangle shawls. Again, selfish knitting, making sure that what I make for myself is something I'll wear. So what do we say? Use your stash, shop your stash, wear what you knit, and the angels will rejoice. And I'm having fun with it. I'm excited about the Grocery Girls cruise that I'm going on. I can't believe, I feel like I've won the lottery. I mean, I really do. I got my passport for this trip. My passport expired in 2007, which was right before my divorce from my first husband. I had gone on cruises in that first marriage and enjoyed them. And you know, he got the 3 houses and went to Norway, and I got the 3 kids and went to the food stamp office. So, you know, it's been a trip, and having gotten to the other side and having enough of a, you know, inheriting a nest egg so that I could go on this trip is quite a journey, and I'm very grateful that I have this opportunity. So, and oh, the other thing that was funny was once I got like the 4th cowl done for this cruise, the Grocery Girls started a knit along for the designers doing the workshops on the cruises. So I was a little embarrassed to go on there in the Ravelry group and say, well, I'm kind of ahead of the game. I've made 4 so far. So, oh well. Hey, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time. Next time, I think we're going to talk about how I simplify my life so I can knit more. And I have some tips for that. So we'll talk about that next time. See you next week. Bye.